Good morning and welcome back to Department of Environmental Science, MSc second year, third semester class, where we are going to conduct EVSUT 231, the second year, third semester, paper 1, that is environmental impact assessment. In this, we are going to deal with around 9 chapters, and these 9 chapters are a systematic explanation of various aspects of environmental impact assessment, which is to be studied at any type of developmental activity. Now, let me explain you the proper full form of impact analysis, and then let us continue with the content of sustainability, as sustainability is the first part of the chapter 1. This is the full form environmental impact assessment. When we speak about impact assessment, it occurs whenever we are designing any type of developmental activity. So, developmental activity are supposed to be following some sort of protocols. So, the total syllabus explains us about the particular activities which are to be conducted, the particular guidelines which are to be followed, and the particular mitigatory measures if any type of problem occurs. So, basically in the first chapter we are being introduced with the framework of sustainable development. In the second chapter we are being introduced with law, policy and instrumentation arrangements which are supposed to be followed by any country around the world. Why we are supposed to follow law and regulations? So that there should be most of the environmental factors get affected due to various human activities. So, the effect on environment should be least, and effect of the activities should be in such a way that there should be some or the other scope for the environment to regenerate, to regain its losses. So, the law helps us for making a proper systematic arrangement for the nature to grow on its own self. On the other hand, we have EIA process. What is the procedure for following a particular impact analysis? Impact analysis generally are seen on various factors of the nature, as we all know that the nature is composition of various biotic as well as non-biotic, or we say them abiotic factors. So, these biotic and abiotic factors are spread in various compositions around the world. So, according to the compositions, according to their importance, according to their presence in that nature, the impact analysis should be done. For example, impact analysis for any ocean project totally differs from an impact analysis to be done in a desert region. So, all the regulatory procedures are explained in the third chapter, that is environmental procedure. In the fourth chapter, we are given the baseline data collection and methods. For example, if I am supposed to do any developmental project on ocean or on a water body, all the effect of the activity will be around maximum around the air quality and the water body, the organisms related to that water body, either they live on land or in water, are getting effect of that particular activity. So, the effect should be minimum and the particular activity should be in such a way that the nature should be least harm. For that, the impact we will be trying to find out all the entities in the ocean, in the water body. Same way, if we are going for any type of project on land, at that time we will find out the entities which are getting affected on land. So, the process differs from project to project, the process differ from stage to stage of the project, and in all the stages there are various types of particular systematic methods which are to be studied in the data collection, baseline data collection method. For example, sometimes we will have descriptive methods, sometimes we will be having scaling method. So, all these types of methods, sometimes it is not possible to just go for description or scaling, we may go for an ad hoc system, or we may go for a scanning system, like maybe a remote sensing scan could be effective. So, all these types of methods are going to be taught to you in the baseline data collection chapter. In the impact analysis assessment, whenever we get a particular information of a particular factor, we come to a conclusion that the activity is good or bad, but after getting well acquainted with the particular system of that organized method, at that time we understand about the particular need of the project. We understand the need of the project, that means what is the importance of that project, how it is going to be useful to the public section, and how it can be affecting the nature. If it is affecting the nature, then what are the mitigatory measures to reduce the effect. For example, if we are having effect on a particular land, like if it is a effect on a jungle land, at that time there are n number of species which may be relocated or which may get disturbed. And everybody know that nature is not a one day show, it is an evolution for millions of years together. So, restoring a particular factor from its own from its older place to a newer place, at that time it takes decades together to regenerate or relocate that particular organism or that particular ecology. So, from that point of view, what should be the best mitigatory measures so that the project should be effective, how it could be managed, so that the project should not be affected, on the other hand the nature should be least harm. Keeping the balance of both the aspects will definitely make a proper EIS study. For the same, detailed procedure of conducting public hearing is supposed to be done, and now this can be done only and only if the particular total location on the particular region. For example, if we are having a bridge between two cities on a one river, okay, at that time when we speak about the two cities, we most of the times forget about the minor elements which are feelings of the nature. Now, all these minor elements get affected due to a major project. So, what could be the minor things? Minor things could be the tribal region, they could be the residential zones of the people, the minor places could be some or the other type of habitat of particular species, let them be migratory or immigratory, whatever they must be. The particular thing could be very small in size or very small in our study, but it must be having a very huge importance in the nature. Most of the times we have seen that there are collapsing of trees or collapsing of huge buildings in rainy season. Why does it happen so? We have a very bright answer. Everybody know that answer, that is due to land degradation. Most of us say that there is lots of cement, so because of that cement jungles, now the plants are collapsing, the trees are collapsing. Yes, you are absolutely right, but there should be a proper balance between the organization of development and the particular restoration of the nature in its as it is condition. So, this is what we are going to study in the procedure for conducting public hearing, like what people are expecting, what is the actual degradation, who is going to conduct a public hearing and who are going to sit at that public hearing. Now, you and I cannot go and sit in public hearing of UNESCO or of maybe a project going on in Delhi or maybe Calcutta. No, we are local in this particular region. So, we are expected to concentrate on that particular region, so that we can express the actual degradation of the nature. Over there, if I participate in some other factor, what will happen? I will say that yes, it may happen, oh, it is a possibility. But no, over here when I am sitting in Nashik, I can say no, this is happening, this should not happen. I can stress on whatever exactly I want to express. So, the public hearing is being conducted by the local factors over there, all the stakeholders of various levels come together and they discuss, whatever they discuss, they give it, they give that knowledge to that particular people living over there in all the particular ways they can. They may have a public hearing, after that they may declare it in newspapers, declare it on televisions, they can share the information through internet to the people that particularly in this area so and so type of activity is going to be conducted and so are the pros and cons. Okay. So, after that final appreciation of the project. Now, who is going to appreciate the project, who is going to permit it? The government of that particular region, like the state government and the central government. In India, CPCB and MPCB, the Central Pollution Control Board, which will be directing the instructions around the country, and MPCB for us in Maharashtra will direct us the particular changes which are supposed to be conducted. After that, the documentation of EIA is expected. Now, what is the documentation? Now, whatever we are trying to collect the information, whatever we are processing the information, the primary data which is being processed for a particular condition, the particular methodology at that time, everything is collected properly, and then this is being processed for secondary data, and then after that decision making process come in existence. This decision making will decide how the program should be conducted, what are the stages, how the stages will be least affecting the nature. After that, in the last part of the portion, we are having environmental audits. Now, what are audits? Audits are those factors which will be responsible for the expenditures at every stages, expenditure in every sections. Okay. Now, these expenditures are in various ways, like maybe a security audit, maybe a industrial audit, maybe a audit in the favor of workers. Okay. There are n number of audits, and these audits are being introduced to you in your particular section of environmental audit, that is your 9th chapter. So, in the first chapter, we are going to discuss about the concept of EIA within the framework of sustainable development. So, you and I, everybody know that what is sustainable development. So, basically we will define sustainable development, that is a activity in the favor of public, in the favor of population, having some aspects for development of that people, like maybe it is industrialization, maybe it is some housing complexes, maybe it is some activity which is being conducted for the people, maybe it is roadway, highway, railways, anything which will make us easy to live our lives. Okay. Now, when we are speaking about living a easy life, at that time we can conclude that we are expecting our life to become a better one. Okay. So, when we speak about environment and when we speak about sustainability in environment, we are first of all supposed to concentrate on types of environment we have. Okay. Most of us do not know what are the types of environment. So, from my point of view, when I explain you types of environment, I will explain you the 3 major factors of environment. The 3 major factors of environment are the hydrology, that is water, atmosphere, and land, that is lithosphere. Okay. When I speak about land, when I speak about water, when I speak about air, okay. So, I will say that the air environment, the water environment, the land environment. But with all these 3 things, this is my sustainable attribute. Okay. Now, when I speak about my sustainable attribute, this can be studied again in a different way, that is sustainability means paisa. We need money. Okay. When we speak about the money, at that time the economic sustainability is expected to be acquainted. Okay. So, the first thing we will speak about is economy. Okay. The second thing we will, from where will you bring this economy now? The second thing will be the nature, that is environment around you. Okay. The second E is your environment. Okay. Now, whatever we have in the nature, we can create or we can generate economy out of it. Yes, definitely. But if you and I are present over there, then only it is possible. Like if public is present over there, there only it is possible. Now, from where to bring this public? The public is the society. Okay. Now, the society means you and I. Okay. Society. Okay. Acquainting the point of sustainability is getting proper economical support from that particular society, and nature is the sustainable development over there. Now, there are n number of aspects when we speak about the sustainability. Now, over here we have UNESCO says that when we speak about sustainability, the first factor of sustainability will indicate you there should be zero hunger and no poverty. That means each and everybody should get money, and each and everybody should be able to live a life where no single day should be without food. Getting it? The first aspect of sustainability is there should be no poverty. There is zero poverty, zero hunger. Okay. When we speak about zero hunger and zero poverty, that means we need to develop the skill in the public in that particular society in such a way that they should be able to attain the protocols of working, or they should be able to attend the protocols of whatever hard work they are going to conduct. Now, from where to make them that sustainable? To work we need knowledge. That means the third part comes. First you spoke about hunger, no hunger, zero poverty. Okay. To attain this, we will need education. Okay. So, in India, you must have seen that we have a midday meal program for the children at school levels, right. That means we are eradicating the zero hunger, we are eradicating the hunger point, we are supporting the no hunger, zero hunger factor. Okay. On the other hand, we are also developing skill in them, so that be acquainted unless and until we get the facilities of equity. So, what is equity now? When we speak about equity, that means there should be equity regarding the gender. There should be no differentiation while giving education, like these are the girls and these are the boys. Rest of the story, you know what is happening in India, around the world. So, beside that, clear water and sanitation facilities. We have seen that around 20% of girl students are a drop off student after attaining their maturities. This is because of there is no proper sanitation in the schools. So, we are trying to eradicate this, so that there should be a sustainable educative condition for the children, so that they can get their education at the best. After that, we have various factors like energy. Now, energy is one of the most important factor for us, like why we should study about energy when we are trying to when we are trying to study the impact on nature. So, the basic thing is that if we know how to restore the energy, if we know how to stop the degradation of nature due to energy consumption, then and then only we will be able to give a proper mitigation against the developmental condition around the developmental projects. Okay. After that we have decent work and economic growth, industrial innovation and infrastructure. Okay. After that sustainable cities and communities. What are the sustainable cities and communities? We have a concept of smart cities going on around the nation. So, what is this all about? This is that whenever there will be growth in the population of the city, the resources of the city or the particular region should be utilized in such a way that all the resources should satisfy the need of the population as well as should be able to restore, regenerate on its own for the next generation. Okay. So, this is the very basic and most important factor regarding the sustainable cities and communities. Now, when we speak about cities, we know there are n number of communities living together and having a huge industrial hub makes a city. But beside this, when we totally speak about a community, so a community is a factor which is composition of various population which are interdependent on each other. So, these interdependent communities, when we speak about their sustainability, the sustainability regarding the economic sustainability, their sustainability regarding their particular natural conditions around them. Now, when we speak about natural conditions, most of us know water, air, land, but no, beside this there are more natural conditions like the society, the social environment around us. Okay. Now, the social environment around us includes the peace around the nation. Okay. After that, the climatic condition. Now, what is climatic condition? Again you will say water, air, soil. No, it is the combination of the particular climatic condition and the economic factor which hinders the development of the nation. For example, right now the whole country, the whole world is fighting against COVID. What is COVID? COVID is a disease, everybody know it, but it is a pandemic and it is affecting our particular growth of the nation around the world. It is seen that we after lockdown, before lockdown, we have various changes in our own selves. Okay. Now, these changes we have acquainted for our sustainable development. Okay. So, we have seen there are wars, there are natural calamities, there are earthquakes, etc., etc. Now, after every situation, how we restore, how we regain our natural growth of economy or environment, that is acquainting sustainability. Okay. After that, sustainability speaks on in water and on land natural conditions of the forest. Okay. Now, these inland, on land, inland, on land and in water, whatever sustainability is there, whatever natural condition is there, how it should be restored, how it should be sustaining. Now, we know that on our earth we have various types of biomes, like we have tundra biome, we have savanna biome, we have green land, we have rainforest, we have desert lands. So, all these aren't they totally dependent on their particular natural conditions while growing? Yes, definitely they are dependent on their particular natural conditions. Why so? Because the natural conditions only help them to upgrade their particular economy. To gain economy from the natural condition is the criteria over there. Okay. So, over here when we speak about the sustainability below water, that means we are, while getting our resources from the water, at that time the natural resources should be also developed and restored for a span of time, so that next coming generations can get benefit from that particular resource. After that, the partnership for the goal, the global goal. Now, what is the global goal? Again, the global goal indicates us that every single organism let it be a plant, let it be an animal, let it be a fungi, let it be a bacteria. Every organism in the world have its special space, and this special space should be restored in such a way that it should be able to perform its natural role in the nature for a long time, okay, till the end of the world. It should be in as it is position for a longer time. Okay. So, now after this we again are coming back to our own point, that is environmental impact assessment. So, the thing is that whenever we are going for a developmental activity, we are supposed to not hinder the 17 basic points of sustainability directed us by UNESCO. Now, from where does UNESCO gives us this direction to us? This all comes into existence from NEPA, NEPA. Now, what is NEPA? NEPA is a National Act on Environment designed by America in late 60s, early 70s. It was a rule which was to be followed in America, and then EIA came into existence. Okay, impact analysis concept came into existence. This concept indicates us whatever developmental aspects we have, those developmental aspects should have a particular regulation. After that, there should be a proper follow up of that particular activities which are being followed, the regulations which are being laid down by the government, and the third is the total reporting of the phases which are being conducted at that particular developmental activity. Now, what are the developmental activities for us? We will expect, if I say you go and develop Nashik city, what will be the first factor which will blink into your mind? The first factor you will say that we need residential zones for the weaker sections of the society. Second, you will say that road connectivity should be strong. Third, you will say there should be water provision for all the people around the Nashik. Isn't it being every year we are planning good plans and we are trying to give this to all the citizens in the city? Aren't we doing that? Yes, we are definitely doing it, and it is being done in a very proper manner. But still there are problems. Why these are the problems occurring again and again? Because the population in the city is increasing. The population type is increasing. Now, what type of population is increasing? Yes, definitely the awareness of the population up to the mark is not satisfactory. Now, is it the condition with only our city? No, it is the condition around the world, because the population is exploding. On the other hand, the cities are growing, there are sprawling, and the sprawling cities are giving us the point of degradation regarding the resources. So, impact analysis will teach us how we are going to plan for next 10 years, next 30 years, next 50 years, or maybe a century. The smart city plan which is being run around the country is going to teach us about how a city should be developed in a proper manner, so that let any number of people, let the extension of population till any extent, the conduction of resource development and the conduction of resource distribution will be equal. Okay. So, in the first chapter I had been introducing you about the syllabus and the sustainable aspects which are being laid down by UNESCO, the 17 points of UNESCO developmental factor, and the introduction to sustainable development. Okay. In the next section we are going to study about the history of EIA. Basically, I have given you the basic point of who invented EIA or who are the pioneer countries who are following EIA. After that, I am going to discuss about history of EIA, and after that we are going to discuss about the points of definition and objectives of EIA. Till then, I can give you an assignment of drawing a sustainable framework, and in that sustainable framework you will include the points which you need to include according to your situation around the society. Thank you.